Hello, class. So here we are in the second chapter of our book. I really like this chapter because I like issues related to standards and assessment. And one major important thing that you need to understand to comprehend this chapter correctly is that assessments have to be aligned to standards. They also need to be aligned to classroom practices, obviously. But in this chapter, we're dealing with assessment standards and assessment. The other main point that Margot makes in this chapter is that it is fundamentally important to differentiate between language standards and content standards. So, for her and for many of us, it is necessary to create differentiated instruction, differentiated assessments, and differentiated standards where you're going to be addressing specifically issues related to language and issues related to the content. So if you're doing science or math, those standards are universal for all students, but then to those you need to add language of science and language of math specific standards for those. In addition, she sets some examples. She presents some example of how to do this, and she creates levels. It's very interesting. I think more and more districts and states are using these. It's not as complex as hers, like 5 levels of language development. Most states have the non-English proficient, LEP, and English proficient, FEP, fluent. Some of them do divide their standards in 3 columns, and this is what this student will be able to produce, this is what this student will be able to produce, and this is what this student will be able to produce. She wants to see 5 as they're more discrete, that if you wish, than just 3. And they encompass different types of learners better than just 3 categories. But at any rate, it's really interesting how you can see the 5 levels of language proficiency and the standards that are associated to them. And to that, you need to link your instruction and the type of support that you're going to provide these students based on that. And you're going to have to link to that as well the assessment and what are you going to expect from this student in order for you to mark them as pass, as met, standard met, and there's many different examples on how this can happen. One that comes to my mind, for instance, in science, I don't know, if you're discussing a specific science topic, name it, I don't know, can you, or the standard says differentiate between different types of shapes. And you have a cone and a circle and a square or a triangle. Okay, and one form of assessment to assess that standard is give them a piece of paper, give them a pen. Okay, class, here's a pop quiz. First question, please draw a circle, and please draw a square, and please draw a triangle, please draw whatever. Okay, and that's your assessment there. And then you collect the papers and then you grade them. Yep, they set the shapes correctly. Okay, if you were to have standards and assessments differentiated by language and content with specific levels, 1 through 5, a non-English proficient, somebody in the level 1 with very minimal English proficiency, would it be possible to assess that activity by just having, let's say that you have some 3-dimensional realia, some manipulatives with a cone and a circle or a sphere and a square or a cube, and then you ask them, point to the sphere, point to the cube. El cubo, if you know that in Spanish they did receive some of this instruction, say it. The cube. ¿Cuál es el cubo? And then he points at it. He doesn't have the English to tell you, but he does have the content knowledge. And you tapped into his previous knowledge in Spanish because you knew he received some of this in Spanish based on the surveys and the interviews and the visits that you did based on chapter 1. You already know this information from the students. So at a level 1, would it suffice to just point out? And then, of course, you're going to get a lot of people who say, well, if you're doing that, that's way easier than drawing it. No, it's not. It's different. It's the key, it's, this is not a joke, and really it's a little sensitive, but I always use this example to devalue standardization. And believe me, everybody's into standardization. Even Margot Gottlieb in the book. I mean, standards are good, but you know, I play devil's advocate sometimes. Okay, so everybody, you know, for you to pass the PE class, you have to run the 100 meters, the 100 yards. All right, let's go. Let's run. Okay, teacher, John is in a wheelchair. I can accommodate. I cannot. Standard means equal application for everybody. Well, okay, that just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so if I'm gonna ask everybody to draw the shapes, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what your level of language is, you have to draw the figures. That's not the point. If you want to know if this kid knows what a cube is, can he point at it? Is that, you know, is the only way to know for you what a cube is to just draw it because that's the assessment you chose to utilize? Maybe that's for a level 5. Maybe that's for a native speaker and a level 5 ELL. But for a level 1, if you want to know if they understood what a cube is, do an alternative form of assessment that is aligned to the standard and the level of the standard that you have. You're not violating standards. You are meeting the level 1 standard. You know? So things like this is what Margot is dealing with in this chapter. Of course, she does a little bit of an introduction on second language acquisition and the modes of language, you know, the listening, speaking, the productive versus the receptive language modes and things like that. So there's a little more information than that in the chapter, but that's basically the core of it. I believe is sort of what I've been talking to you about. So anyway, that's it for chapter 2 for me. I will be seeing you in class on chapter 3 that we'll have a chance to discuss together. I believe it's on chapter 3. If not, I'll make a video, but I think I will see you. All right, so that's it for me. As usual, let me know if you have any questions. Bye.